Hey guys, in this session we're going to be looking at decimals to fractions. I am going to go through a little bit of explanation as to why we do some of the things, and I'm also going to show you guys the shortcut first. As always, I'm going to start with the shortcut, and then I'm going to give you guys a bit of a detailed bit of look as how it actually works. So, one of the things that you can actually do is when I look at the number 0.7, I write this straight away as I look at how many numbers are actually after the decimal point. And so in this kind of situation, I can actually see that it's actually one number after the decimal point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as 7 over 10. And basically that zero is because it's one number, 10, because you're going actually one spot after the decimal point. Let me show you with 0.12. So for 0.12, I'm going to write down 12 as it is. And then as I can see, I've got the first number after the decimal point, and then I've got two numbers after the decimal point, which means I write that as 12 over 100. Likewise, let's actually make this 1.35, all right, just because we can. And if you look at it, we've got 1, 2, 3. So we're going to write this down as 1,325. And we counted three numbers after the decimal point, so we're actually going to put down 3 zeros in the denominator. Now, you might be wondering, how did he even come up with this, right? So let's actually break this down a bit further. So that, as I said, that was the shortcut. Let's actually go through this question again as what would happen if I was to do it the other way. So let's think about it like this. 0.7. Remember this thing right here? The 7 is actually in the tenths column, which means if we actually write this as words, we can actually write this as 7/10. And of course, 7/10 as a fraction is actually going to be 7 over 10. All right, likewise, if we actually have a look at the 12, 0.12, it's actually in the 100s, so we could actually write down as there is actually 12 100ths, which means we're actually going to get 12 over 100. And finally, with the last one, you've actually got one whole. So one whole is just going to be by itself. That's one whole right there. Plus 0.325, which is the 325 1,000ths. So we're going to write this as 325 thousandths. And what we can also say, 1 by itself is just 1. So we're going to get 1 plus 325 over 1,000. And of course, you could actually just write this as 1,325. Now, if you want to know how to do this, I am going to chuck up a video in about 3 videos from this series, and I'll show you guys how to combine this so that it actually equals to 1.325. All right, so real quickly, how to go from decimals to fractions. Now, what about fractions to decimals? So let's actually look at that real quickly. So I'm going to kind of put this here after D. Fractions to decimals, well, you kind of can see it above here, right? Like, let's have a look at this. So we had 7/10 before. So if I have something like this, 8/10, I would actually write this as 0.8. All right, and again, I'm going to show you guys that shortcut method, right? So 1, 0, which means the decimal point is, remember that 8 has a decimal point, which is right here, but it's literally just moved one spot to the left. All right, so that's whenever you divide a number by 10 or 100, you tend to move the decimal points. We've talked about it in one of the previous videos. It's pretty much the same concept here. So if I have 47 over 100, remember, the decimal point is actually here because 47.00 is still the same thing as saying 47. And in this case, I've actually got 2 zeros, which means the decimal point is going to move 2 spaces in front of 4. So this one here is going to be 0.47. And of course, if I have something like 736 divided by 100, once again, I look at the number of zeros that are there, and I look at the top number, and I've got to move the decimal point to the respective number of zeros in the denominator. So I'm actually going to end up with 7.36. So like I said, there is a shortcut way of doing it, but just looking at the zeros in the denominator or looking at the decimals and figuring out how many zeros you put in the denominator. Or of course, there's that way that I showed you guys in the middle. You can actually do that as well. Now, when it comes to the calculator, you do end up with this little button right here called F to D, which is fraction to decimal. And if you guys are still using this calculator in a few years' time when you go to NCA level 1, then what you can do is you can literally just go 8 divided by 10, and that's going to give you 0.8. Now, that's the last example that I did. And if you do 47 divided by 100, you're going to get 0.47. Now, what about converting it? All right, let's say we've got 0.12 as a fraction. I actually put it as 12 over 100. But if I put it into fraction to decimal, it actually says 3 out of 20, 3 over 25th, 3 over 25, because that can be simplified further. But hey, look, that's pretty much a quick summary of how to go from decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. That's basically it for this video, guys. As always, thank you for watching.